Hello and welcome to my review of the USS Titan from Star Trek Picard. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the good, the bad, the ugly of not only the model itself, but also my thoughts on the design. So starting off, here's the box art. So there's a lovely picture of the model on the top of the box, the name and registration, and the side views. So this model's from Fanhome, and the side views of the box. This is really nice design, nice space picture for the background. And underneath as well. So that's the box that it comes in. I'm not going to do the review of the magazine. I don't want to be done for copyright issues, so I won't be talking, but I will discuss some of the things that are in the magazine. So there's the box art. And here's the model itself. So, as you can see, this is standard display stand that comes with it, which means I do like these stands because there's no, therefore there's no holes in the model that it attaches to, unlike say like the Polar Lights models, where you get the dome base and a rod, and then you usually get a hole in the bottom of the models. Although that can be useful if you're going to light them. But these are the standard, these are die-cast models, so they're solidly built. With a metal top for the saucer, and then it's plastic for the secondary hull. So it's nice and evenly weighted, and it just attaches onto the impulse engines like so. So that's the display stand. So just quick looking at the views. There's the starboard view, ports, and then fore and aft. So, the good. It is a really well made model. The nacelles are evenly proportioned. There's no dip in the nacelles. You see there's lovely Aztec work all over the hull. The registry is nice and clear. I like the clear plastic for the nacelles, for the plasma vents and the nacelles. Interestingly, used orange for the nacelle buzzer collectors. Interesting choice. I say the design, the transporter pads are in alignment. Phaser strips are in alignment. The phaser turrets are in alignment. Even the like the escape hatches or cargo, it's probably a cargo hatch actually, is on alignment. So the alignment for the most part is really, really good. And Fanhome have taken over from Eaglemoss, so I'm assuming they use the same factories that produce these models as before. But I'd say the quality is excellent. The general build quality, it's very, very good. So yeah, when I'm holding it, I'm very happy holding the model. And it's really nice to see it in the flesh, so to speak. Now let's talk about the bad. And as I've just mentioned, Fanhome taken over from Eaglemoss. And if you're familiar with Eaglemoss models, this is a common problem, window alignment. And if you can just see here, the windows, we'll bring in closer, the painting for the windows are not in alignment with the indents for the windows. And it's a common problem that's through all Eaglemoss models, and it looks like exactly the same now with the Fanhome models. You can see it on that one quite clearly. That the windows are just not in alignment with what the indents for. And it's like a millimetre or two off all the way around. And it's the same on the secondary hull. You might not be able to see it as clearly on this. They're just out of alignment there. And it's frustrating because this is a common problem again and again and again. And I know a lot of other reviewers have said about the windows on Eaglemoss models. And you would just think, just get it sorted. Thankfully, along the saucer, they are in alignment, which is fantastic. So they are in alignment, but on the hull itself, they're not. And it's just frustrating. Another slight bad, I suppose, is that the name after the ship is just not centered. It's slightly to the left. So that's, say, the bad. I say it's not the end of the world. I say the majority of it is well in alignment. All the decals and the picture, the painting on it is very, very good. And the majority was in alignment, but it's the windows. And it's the same thing again and again. It's just a frustration, and it is the bad point of it. Now, the ugly. And the worst bit about this ship has got to be the impulse engines. For a start, why do they paint them orange when they're clearly red in the program? And they haven't painted this bit here. It's meant to be this whole colour. The impulse engines are literally just on the end here and the strips here. So I get it, they painted the impulse engines orange, but then didn't finish it and paint the whole colour in the centre there. And it's ugly, and it looks ugly, but it is repairable. So I will be doing another video on how I'm going to repair these with paint. You can get decals for the impulse engines, but I'm deciding to paint those just with clear red over the top. And hopefully it'll get a bit more a vibrant look to it rather than a decal. And I'm going to paint that the whole colour as well, which is a light gold grey. I'm going to be using Humbrol 129 for that. So if anyone else has got the same model and wants to amend theirs, that's what I would use. And I'm going to be using them in a future video. So that's definitely the ugly part. And also, there's no sensor bands along the saucer section at all. And it's just missing. And I don't understand why. Because they could be painted on. I'm sure they've done them on other XL models for the refits. This is effectively a Constitution class saucer. Well, it is a Constitution class, but it's the same like from the refit. So why not have put them on? And it's a shame, because then you've got basically the overlap where the Aztec paintwork goes over the top, which reminds me, if you ever built the 1x1000 refit Enterprise, you'd sometimes get there where a slight overlap with the Aztec decals, and you've just got that, but you'd be hidden because you'd have the sensor bands over the top, so it didn't matter so much. So yeah, that's the shame, and that's definitely the ugly part of this model. Okay, so end of part one. Okay, so in part two, I'm going to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of the design, in my opinion. And I'm starting with the good, and it's that view there. It just screams refit Enterprise, and it's a classic silhouette, and it's beautiful. So lots of hands there, but it truly is a beautiful design. And I can see why, if you're going for nostalgia, you'd want something that, you know, that hits all those notes. So it is a beautiful, beautiful design. I love the Aztecing on it. And that view alone is just beautiful. I don't mind the fact that I went back to a saucer section, and it's more that the rounded saucer rather than the wedge design from like the Voyager or Enterprise E. So yeah, that view is beautiful. Same with underneath as well. It's just that those sleek lines and the swept back nacelles. And also the port view there, which is the same for the starboard. I love the nacelles. They love chunky and futuristic. I like the fact that they're a nice step up from, say, the TNG era, or even the nacelles for the Enterprise E, the Sovereign class nacelles. I do like those. And I like the fact that in the magazine that comes with it, they talk about how these nacelles are the same from the Stargazer, but that was very much reminiscent of the TNG era, where like the Nebula class and the Galaxy class had the same nacelles. So the fact that like Starfleet would have like a stock design that they would just put on different ones. Same with the refit era as well. The Miranda class and the Constitution class had the same nacelles. So it does make sense they have the similar designs. And obviously Starfleet ships are designed to be modular. So the saucer is meant to come off. The nacelles are meant to come off and be replaced. The bridge domes are meant to come off and be replaced. So it's very in-universe. I quite like this view as well. And I like the fact that the deflector array reminds me a bit like the Excelsior class. So it's small and circular with a larger hull around it. And I like that. And I like that view as well. So there's a lot of good about this ship. There really is. I was worried at first, but when you see it on screen, it really does fit. And I like the fact that it's a squat neck position. I'm not a big fan of necks on starships. They are the vulnerable weak points on them. And it made sense for me that in universe, they basically just evolved them out, especially with the design for the Voyager and the Enterprise E and the Defiant. There's no necks at all. But if you're going to put one in, the fact that it's short and squat does make sense because then it's a lot more protected. Obviously from enemy attack. And it obviously gives you more decks and you can put, gives you more, I suppose in universe you'd have more decks you can have more science labs or there's more room for more things, I suppose. So that doesn't bother me. So you got the shutter bay at the back, again, that nice clamshell design reminiscent from the original Enterprise. And even that view from the back, it looks fast. It's a light cruiser, but it just looks fast. And I like that look. Now, the bad. For me, I never understood the point of having phaser turrets on here. Now, in the magazine, it says that this was, when it became the Titan, it was actually a refit of a previous ship. They never state what the previous ship was. So I don't know if this was originally from like the refit era or certainly like the early 24th century that they then refit to the 25th century and became the Titan-A. I don't know. It was never said in universe, so this just picked up from what it says in the magazine. So I don't know if that's like a remnant of what it was previously, and they just left them on. I know that's. I've heard that they are meant to be just redundancies, but when you've got phaser strips, and I just think it's a bit much. I know it gives you that look of the refit still, but I don't know. I just don't see the point of phaser turrets at all. Now, oh, excuse my dog in the background there. There's the aft torpedo launcher there, which they didn't paint in. So I'm going to add just a dab of red there, just so it stands out better. But there's no forward torpedo launcher at all, non-visible. Those are lights. So I don't know. I can't remember from the program where they actually launch from. They may be the torpedo launchers, which is very reminiscent of the original Enterprise. But I just was surprised that there's no visible torpedo launcher when every other ship has them. And obviously they made a big point about it from the refit Enterprise to have visible torpedo launchers. So I was just very, very surprised. And it's interesting that you read in the magazine, that Doug Drexler, who did the CG model, made a big point to make sure there's transporter pads, and there's all the cargo hatches, I think that they are, made big points about those because, fans know that these ships have them, and yet there's no visible torpedo launcher at the front. And also, there's no aft phaser strips. So in battle, this ship effectively can't fire backwards other than a torpedo launcher. There's just no phaser strips. Now, I know they made that mistake for the Enterprise E, which is why when they did Nemesis, and obviously you got the scene where it's fighting the scimitar and it's having to shoot all around it, they had to put extra phaser strips on the nacelle pylons because they forgot about it when they did First Contact, because all the views were just like this coming in against the Borg cube. And I think they've effectively done the same on the Titan because there's just no phaser turrets. And ironically, you could have had phaser turrets on here because that's where it is on the refit. So that would have made sense. But they've just forgotten it. So it's an oversight, I feel. And I would say that's probably the bad point of this ship design. The fact it just can't fire backwards other than a torpedo. So I'm pretty sure it did in the program. But again, there's just no visible signs of phaser arrays or turrets. So that's probably the bad bit of this design. And the ugly has got to be those impulse engines. Now, as I said, the middle bit is meant to be hull colour. But even so, they're far too chunky. And in the magazine, Doug says that if he had had more time, certainly the top part would have been cargo hangar. Because he says 4 is too much. Well, it's actually got 6, because he's got the 2 on the side, which to me would be more than enough to have had And this would have been better as a cargo bay or a shuttle hangar. That would have made much more sense. It's left over from the original design of the USS Titan, which was a fan design. It was meant to be contemporary of the original, the refit Enterprise, which is what this design is based off, and then obviously modernized. But yeah, it's just ugly. They're far too chunky, especially when you've got such a slender profile for the saucer, and then it just sticks out. It's definitely the worst part of this ship. Especially when they've added, because these I don't think were from the original model, so they've added extra impulse engines anyway. So yeah, if Star Trek Legacy ever does get made, it would perhaps be nice if they refitted those for the Enterprise G. Because obviously for time they didn't do much, if any changes other than the name for when this becomes the Enterprise G, which I don't agree with, but never mind. I don't write the program, so fair enough. But no, so other than that, I think it's beautiful. I really do. And overall, I would say give this model design an 8 out of 10 because it looks like a Connie, and that's never a bad thing. So there you have it. So that is the USS Titan, NCC 80102-A. And there are my thoughts on it. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for the USS Stargazer. Hello and welcome to my video on how to modify the USS Titan-A model from Fanhome with no decals required. So in my review video, I said how the impulse engines on the Fanhome model were just painted orange, and this made the ugliest part of the model. Well, as you can see here, with a little bit of paint, you can modify this and make it much more screen accurate. So to do that, I used Tamiya Clear Red X27, Humbrol 129 Satin Grey, or you can use flat gold grey. And this thickness paintbrush. There we go. Just to show in comparison, just several mils across. Okay. And all I did was use the clear red first, so I painted all the impulse engines and just painted over the top there. So this was originally orange, I kept that and just painted over the top. So with the clear red, just makes it vibrant, okay? So like the impulse engines are active, but just makes them much more screen accurate than the orange. I can't understand why they painted it orange. Once that had dried, I then used the light gold grey to paint the hull. So this is actually meant to be hull colour. And what's really impressive is that the 129 from the Humbrol is pretty much identical. So it's usually really difficult to match the colours that the model makers use with the home paint, but this is pretty much spot on. To the naked eye, I can't see a difference. So I was really, really impressed. And what I decided to do as well, just to show off the aft torpedo tube, I just painted a little red dot there. I like to do that with my refit models. I like to paint the torpedo tubes on there. So, and on the CG pictures that are coming in the magazine, that was painted red. I think it's grey in the show, but it doesn't matter. I wanted to show off as a torpedo launcher, so I painted it red. Now, I can't see where the torpedo launchers are at the front. There's no obvious torpedo launchers, so I didn't paint any of those. What I did do was also using my hull colour, I just painted the bottom of the deflector array, because that's just a blue clear plastic deflector array that they stuck on, which is fine. And appreciate, obviously, being a model kit that's mass produced, why that was left blue. I don't think I actually mentioned in my review video. But all I did was just use the hull colour, painted over the top. So as you can see, that's obviously the standard hull colour. That's what's painted over the top. And it matches it really, really well. And I just got the brush as well, and I just went round the side of the deflector array as well. I don't know if you can see there, but I just caught the top of it. So what I did was just scratched off the paint, but actually this did me a favour because it's just kind of caught the ridges of the deflector array as well. So it just makes it stand out a little bit better. So there. But it just got rid of the clear plastic blue. So if you just get down the side, yeah, you can just see it there. Before painting, that would have been all blue. So just by painting around the back of it, it just matches in, well, blends it in with the rest of the hull. So then actually just makes that deflector array stand out much better. It looks much more screen accurate as well. Less clear plastic blue stuck on the top. But the main bit is definitely these rear impulse engines. And all that paint and brushes would have cost less than £10. So it's an easy modification to make. You can get them online or your local model shop. And it really does improve this model and gets rid of the ugliness from the model kit. And it makes it more screen accurate. So there you have it. Very simple modification, no decals required, just a little bit of time and patience. And if you go over, as you say, because the whole colour is virtually the same, if you do go over, just paint over the top. And that's it, a very simple modification to make this model kit even better. Now I did try and get some decals for the sensor bands. Unfortunately, on time of recording, the postage would have been a lot more than the actual bands themselves. So I decided against it, but I will leave a description in the link below for them. So if you do want to get the sensor bands, I opted for the 1x1400 Enterprise refit ones because I think this scale would closely match that. I've done a 1x1000 refit model kit before, which is a bit thicker. So I think the 1400 would probably match that. So if you do want to get the sensor bands for your own model kit, I'll leave the description in the link below. The link in the description below even. And there you have it. There's how to modify the USS Titan-A. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Bye-bye.